Hey folks, this is Rhykker with an Overwatch lore and analysis video on the latest comic that came out about the upcoming event. The comic is called Uprising, and it revolves around the Row Uprising event that seems like it will be the focus of the in-game event starting possibly next week, April 11th. Do be sure to read the comic yourself, and now we're going to go through it and analyze it, see what we could learn, as well as provide little additional details that you may have missed. This comic is also very likely previewing some new skins that we can expect to get. So diving into the comic, right away we see London, England. This is King's Row. And what do we see there? McCree with no augments. Those are two human arms. Could this be Blackwatch McCree? Blackwatch was a Black Ops team within Overwatch, led by Gabriel Reyes, aka Rhykker. Black Ops, or Black Operations, differ from Covert Ops in that their operations aren't just secretive and stealthy, but there's also quite an element of deception involved. With Black Ops, you generally try to conceal who is behind the event, or even make it seem like someone else is behind the event. And from other Overwatch lore, we know that Black Ops was into some shady stuff, and this will be hinted at as well in this comic. So we already know that this is in the past, not even using our meta knowledge of the event. Also be sure to check out that video, because we're going to go over things that we mentioned in the video where we're talking about the event teaser, but right away we know this is in the past because McCree is fully human. Right away McCree is talking about Null Sector, and we could assume from this a Null Sector refers to some kind of group, likely some kind of terrorist group if they're holding prisoners. The Mandata that he's referring to is a character that we've seen before. He is the robot Gandhi that gets assassinated by Widowmaker in the Alive trailer. That further cements that this is in the past because Mandata is still alive. No pun intended. Next we see Ana, Reaper, and Soldier 76, aka Jack Morrison, in the Overwatch Swiss headquarters. This was the main Overwatch headquarters. Again, this cements that we're in the past because the main Overwatch Swiss headquarters exploded. It blew up. This was the event that presumably killed Jack Morrison and Gabriel Reyes. Of course, they later emerged as Reaper and Soldier 76. Also, Ana is still with the group, so that further helps us discern the timeline. Right away, you can see that Ana is questioning Reaper. Why is McCree in London? Ana's smart, she's suspecting that he was sent there on some Blackwatch mission, even though, from the context here, Blackwatch should not be operating right now. And Reaper gives evasive and sarcastic answers. Then it's confirmed that Null Sector is an Omnic terrorist group, and we get some lore filled in on stuff that we already know, the treatment of Omnics in King's Row. The Magna Carta that's being referred to here is a charter of human rights and liberties. It was signed in the year 1215 in England, and obviously didn't include robots. Now the statue that Gabriel, Reaper, is referring to here is that giant statue of Jack Morrison, of Soldier 76. We've seen this before in video, we'll see it later again in this comic. But even though it's a joking reply, you can tell that Reaper is butthurt. Again, Soldier was selected over Reaper to become the leader of Overwatch, and that clearly never sat well with Reaper. Here we see mention of a director, Petrus. And we've seen that name before. We've heard of the Petrus Act. This is something that was put in place after the disbanding of Overwatch. And basically, it stated that any Overwatch activity is illegal and punishable by law. So I don't know about you guys, but I don't think this director Petrus and Overwatch are gonna get along very well. And there you can see the statue. During this dialogue, it is clear that there definitely is some conflict or something going on between Director Petrus and Overwatch. No one wants to talk to this guy. Now here we see a sick Genji skin. I never play Genji. I want this skin to happen. It has to happen. And there's evidence that it will happen, which we'll go over in a little bit. Now there's a couple things going on with this skin that we need to explain. First off, we gotta point out that Blackwatch logo on his chest. We know that's a Blackwatch logo due to a Reaper spray, in which it's shown that that is the Blackwatch logo. So we never knew before this comic that Genji was a part of Blackwatch at some point. In retrospect, it makes sense. He's a ninja, so he's good at doing stealthy things. And further, he's from the Shimada criminal empire. Just like McCree came from a criminal background, it kind of makes sense to pull former criminals due to the ties that they have, and just they have more experience dealing with criminals. Another thing we see is just how ravaged his body is, just how much of it has been replaced by cybernetic augments, just how scarred he is. And that really makes you question, how bad did his brother Hanzo mess him up? Just as a reminder, Hanzo and Genji were the sons of the master of the Shimada clan. Genji was the younger brother. He lived a life of luxury and privilege. He didn't really involve himself in the family affairs, was mostly just training to be a Nasam ninja, and lived as a playboy. His lifestyle was seen as a liability to a lot of the people in the clan, and when the head of the clan died, Hanzo basically demanded that his brother stop dicking around. They got into a fight that built into a violent conflict, and Hanzo left Genji for dead. Hanzo thought he killed his brother, the rest is history on his side, and Overwatch found the nearly dead Genji and rebuilt him better, faster, stronger, in exchange for him joining Overwatch and helping take down the Shimada clan. Now we also have to bring up that this was before Genji met Zenyatta. You can see the red in Genji's eyes here, and I don't know if it's intended that way, but obviously red eyes in a lot of comics or cartoons signifies anger or rage, and at the time, Genji very much was filled with these emotions. Obviously, part of it must have been against his brother for doing this to him, and another part was just sort of self-loathing against what he'd become. More machine than man now. So it was once he had helped Overwatch dismantle the Shimada Empire that Genji left Overwatch, traveled the world, and finally met Zenyatta, who allowed him to find inner peace. And we know that Genji was previously filled with rage because an in-game voice interaction between between Zenyatta and Hanzo, has Zenyatta saying, "I sense within you the same rage that once consumed your brother." All this to say, this better become a skin. As we mentioned in our previous video on the King's Row Uprising, there was, at some point a few months ago, something in Heroes of the Storm, Blizzard's MOBA game, called the Nexus Challenge, that allowed you to play Heroes of the Storm to earn a Genji skin in Overwatch. We know that in a couple weeks, the Nexus Challenge 2 will start, and it's possible we might get another exclusive skin, and imagine it's this one? And if you wanted further proof that this may become a skin, look at this right here. Look at that monitor. What is that fella looking at? Look how low resolution everything else is painted in this comic. We're always seeing very wide brush strokes, very little detail, and this isn't a criticism against the artist, it's just an observation. It's just the style chosen. That image is way too detailed, A, to be a background element, and 2, just for this style. That looks like that is the actual concept art for this Genji skin that they just took and then resized to fit on that monitor. And if they have this kind of concept art for this skin, then they probably have this skin. Now here they're talking about Tracer. This is post-accident Tracer. You kind of saw from the blue trail behind her that she is using her chronal accelerator. You'll see it better in a little bit here, but just to quickly recap Tracer's story, Tracer was test piloting a new fighter jet that had teleportation technology. There was an accident, and she became desynchronized from the flow of time. Winston invented the chronal accelerator to keep her anchored in the present and allow her some control over her time travel powers. And right there, I don't know if you caught it, you even saw another part of that Genji skin concept art. I certainly didn't notice that the first time. So now we're going to see a lot of headlines on these monitors. We see Blackwatch under scrutiny after complaint from Japanese government. So Blackwatch used to be completely secret. It was at some point towards the end of Overwatch's life cycle that Blackwatch was made public or was found out. Now, the fact that we're talking about the Japanese government, could this be a Genji tie-in? We could only speculate here. Then we see Director Petrus orders full investigation into Cairo incident. Given Petrus was the one who ultimately either shut down Overwatch or then went on to make the Overwatch activities illegal, odds are this Cairo incident is something Overwatch related, and we did see Ana and Soldier talking about the PR fiasco in Egypt. Now, whether this has anything to do with the Temple of Anubis is unknown. We could speculate. It probably doesn't. The Temple of Anubis is on the outskirts of Cairo. Then we see Overwatch official murdered. this heavily hints at this being Gerard Lacroix that got murdered. He was an Overwatch agent, and Widowmaker was his wife. Widowmaker was just a regular person. She was kidnapped by Talon, and as of right now, Reaper isn't in Talon, although, now that I think of it, maybe he's secretly working with Talon, who knows, but at least he's not officially in Talon, meaning Widowmaker joins Talon before Reaper, because it is Widowmaker that kills her husband. She was kidnapped, she was brainwashed, and made into an assassin. And it seems at this point that Overwatch doesn't know that it was Widowmaker who killed her husband, because at a later point, in a different comic, we see Ana trying to take out this Talon sniper, and it's as she realizes that it is Widowmaker, as she recognizes Amélie. That's what throws her off guard and allows Widowmaker to shoot her and take out her eye, causing Ana to be presumed dead and leave Overwatch and go into hiding. Now we also see Row Uprising Day 27. Again, this is the uprising that was hinted at in the teaser early this week. This will likely be the focus of our event, possibly starting next week, April 11th. Now we see some hints that Soldier and Reaper used to be a lot closer in the past, possibly even friends. It seems to pain Soldier that they've had that falling out. Again, he mentioned specifically egos, and that's the big thing. That relationship probably fell apart the day that Morrison was promoted to leader of Overwatch over Reaper. Again, this director Petrus, he's that annoying guy that's always trying to give people shit, is what we gather from this. And the fact that Morrison blows him off, it's definitely not fostering a positive relationship with someone who's clearly has some authority over them. Now, something to note, in the Junkenstein's Revenge PvE event, it was 4 players. 4 players versus the waves of enemies, robots or whatever, and you had Ana, 1 healer, you had McCree, you had Soldier, and you had Hanzo. Right now we see an Overwatch team shipping out to King's Row to deal with King's Row Uprising, and we have Mercy, a healer, we have Reinhardt, Torbjorn, and we have Tracer. That's another 4 characters, including a healer. So could this be the selectable heroes for an upcoming PvE event? Also, are these going to be skins available for these heroes? Now we see Cadet Tracer. This looks like a skin that would probably become a reality. If we go back to look at our teaser from earlier this week, I said that we noticed something that looked like a hat on her head, and it looks very much like this specific hat. I think it's a pretty fair bet that this might be a new Tracer skin. And it's here that we learn that Torbjorn actually created Tracer's signature line. We also learn that Soldier likes Tracer. Not in a romantic way, but she's clearly had some effect on him. I suppose her fresh perspective. He's grizzled, he's jaded. He was looking back on those photos of back when he was a young cadet, if you will, remembering the reasons why he got into this fight, and I guess seeing Tracer express her desires to help people probably reignited something within him. So if we go back on a previous comic, an old Soldier 76 was looking at an old picture, and it's likely that that actually was Tracer. Back then I was like, well, it looks kind of like Tracer, it seems like her hair, but he doesn't really have any relationship with Tracer. But this kind of suggests that, yeah, maybe he did come to see her as a little sister, or foster some kind of positive relationship with her to make him look fondly on those memories. Also, that Mercy skin has to happen. And that, folks, wraps up this video. Leave a comment with your thoughts. Do you want to see more PvE events in Overwatch? Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch and Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders for more Overwatch content.